Ciao from Pietro, ciao from the limited edition. It is another day with the independents. Your format where, on a weekly basis, me and my partner, Johnny McElleron, try to bring some of the best of the indie watchmakers, the solo watchmakers and the independent brands that are such a big part of our passion for artisan watchmaking. Today is no exception. As I was saying before, we have one of the best in Bernhard Lederer, master watchmaker from Germany. Bernhard Lederer will be with us, and we're going to exchange a few ideas and have a nice conversation, hopefully, about watchmaking, horology. And I'll do this with my partner, obviously in crime, Johnny McElleron, the editor of the limited edition. Hi, Johnny. I give you the pleasure of actually officially introducing Bernhard to this broadcast.
You didn't tell me that in advance. Good evening, or hello, everyone, and welcome, definitely. And it's fantastic to be back, and also to be introducing someone who has become a very good friend of ours over the last number of years. He is one of the pioneers of this current generation of independent artisanal watchmaking, and one of the great inventors and innovators of our time. And Bernhard Lederer, it is fantastic to welcome you. So how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for those charming words. Beside of that, you call me one of the pioneers. That makes me elder. So the pioneers always are in front and all the others behind. So if I look those behind me, I feel quite many years on my shoulders. But it's only when you talk about. Normally, I don't feel the age, and I'm happy. Even if I'm officially retired already, I'm, as in the beginning, I'm fascinated by the profession we are in, and I enjoy still every day being on the table and making my work.
I find that it's quite common, Pietro, that a lot of the people that we work with, there is no hint or desire to retire. That it is something that you just keep going and get. Like Bernhard, I am not that far behind you, let me tell you. So
as Jean-Claude Biver would say quite wisely, you can't retire from a passion, can you?
That is true. Yeah, that is the same like finishing holidays. This you have to, but if you could, you would stay on holidays and continue enjoying. And that is what we do. We have the big pleasure that we can work in our passion. We just follow our passion. Others have to go to work, and in the afternoon they can start to make what they would like to. We have really the privilege to do that every day, the whole year round.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely. And we share the same privilege now, Johnny, having the pleasure of introducing a character like Bernhard Lederer, a solid member of the AHCI, that for those that are not familiar to the AHCI is the Academy of the Independent Creators, probably the most important establishment institution related to the world of artisan watchmaking. But Bernhard, we met each other relatively late compared to what has been your impact on the world of watchmaking since the beginning. You go back a fair way. You have met some of the biggest personalities from the world of watchmaking. We're gonna explain how that has impacted your work. Where did, for our audience to understand, where did your passion start from? What was the sparkle that made you think, yes, I want to be a watchmaker and this is gonna be my life?
It started in a library. I inherited a pocket watch, a very simple one in a nickel case with a key wind system, cylinder escapement, very, very basic, simple, broken enamel dial. So it was used as a pocket watch by my grandfather. But it was inherited from my grandfather, and therefore it was ultra precious for me. In that time, I had the feeling that I'm a little bit left-handed. And on the other side, I was very curious what is inside to make it ticking and to show the time. So I was afraid if I may open it, that it will never work again. And therefore, I decided to inform myself up front to find out what should I take care of, what should I may not unscrew, and what may be I could to find out. And therefore, I went to the library and started to read in some books. And important was one book where in the preface, I don't know, in the editorial, no, it's in the foreword.
Forward, yeah.
In the foreword, the author was explaining why and how he became a watch collector. And it is this story that triggered me. The story is very simple. When he behaved as parents expect their children to behave, he had the right to play a game with his father. And that game was very, very extraordinary. He had the right then to put his ear to the drawer of the office table of his father. And in this drawer always was one special pocket watch ticking. And he had to find out which type of watch, which escapement is in the drawer.
Wow.
And that sounded so weird for me. I could not believe that watches have a different phonetic signature that strong that you can detect which watch is in the drawer. So I started to go to flea markets to look around, not to buy watches, just to wind them and to listen. I just wanted to prove if that story is true or if it's just a nice story. I can tell you the story is true or could be true. I never met the author, so maybe he invented it, but I proved it. Yes, it could have been. And just being there so fascinated by something that sounds irrealist and to find out, yes, it is, brought me so close already to the watches that I was infected and never got rid
Yeah.
of this virus,
That's
and
amazing.
happy to have that virus.
It's really a living thing. And Johnny, we often make the game guess of, what do we associate a particular watchmaker to? And with Bernhard Lederer, for me, the word is innovation. I don't know if you share this with me, Johnny, and then we can obviously involve Bernhard on explaining us how innovation is really the center of his work.
Always. I think that a lot of, I think my first experience of Bernhard's work was, I've mentioned this collection so many times, Pietro, you could nearly, you know what I'm going to say next, don't you? Because it was the gold file, Seven Masters, was the first time I had become familiar with Bernhard's name. So that was, I think, back 2004, I think that was. And maybe earlier.
I guess earlier. I think they stopped the collection somewhere in 2004, if I'm not too wrong, but close to this, yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know that watch.
but you see, this is the first time I had ever, previous to this, Bernard, I had been working with mainstream brands that I was familiar with, that names that you would see in the Sunday magazines, or the Cartiers, Omegas, Rolex, Patek famously. You never own a Patek, you look after for the next generation. And outside of those big, strong, powerful brands, really, I knew very, very little about the independent sector. And it was that collection, that Seven Masters, that really caught my attention. I thought, wow, look at this. And they were all so different and all so, as I say again, and all one of my cliches is that every watch made by an independent watchmaker is like an extension of their personality. And you could see that with the different people who had created their watches. That kind of DNA still continues, whether it was Felix Baumgartner or Vianney Halter or Sven Anderson or Bernhard Lederer, that DNA, that signature was evident then.
Is it Bernard, the fact that you got the prize at the GPHG for the innovation prize in 2021? Did you see that as a finally recognition of your earlier work, from the beginning, or did you feel appreciated all the way along for the incredible experiences that you had to share with some of the best watchmakers as well?
No, yeah, it was something what is linked to the whole career that had been in between, like the career of all the independent that are already many years independent. It was a hard way to go. Today independence became much easier to handle and to be known in the market. Also, thanks to a medium like yours here, you spread the message. We had no support at that time. One of the reasons why the AHCI, I never can spell it correctly, AHCI had been founded and established, that was because we had been just like free satellites without final importance. So we had to be brought together to get a little bit of visibility. And therefore,
To
yes,
explain,
when I received the prize, that was really the accumulation of the years where we went through. Yeah.
Wonderful.
yeah, because no, I didn't want to interrupt you, but obviously in 1984, when the AHCI was born, there were independent watchmakers at the time, but they had no visibility. Why? Because all the media in the world of luxury watchmaking was obviously one of the niches. Were paid to give visibility, so their business was to be paid in order to get visibility. Whereas masters watchmakers like yourself and many others, and a few others, I don't know, Vianney Alter, already obviously active in those days, Ludovic Balouard, Felix that we just mentioned. You were focused on your work, on your passion, on your researches, on your digging every day to find the innovation that made you one of the big innovators of this time. How much was the Northern Star, the idea of innovating for you across all the years of your work? How important is innovating in watchmaking for Bernhard Lederer?
It's not innovating. It is my curiosity, and maybe in a more funny way to say, I'm not so keen on working. So I don't like that much to work. So if I have to work, and everybody has to, and then I would like to work on something what interests me, and to repeat things that had been made already before me. There is no continue. There's no thrill. There's no there's no challenge, and there is no adrenaline. There is no sweat, because very often you have the adrenaline, and after this you have the sweat, because you really struggled, and something went wrong. You have to find out why. So yeah, always active, you're engaged, and this is where the fascination comes from. If then at the end comes out something innovative, fine, but it is not doing to innovate something, but working on a matter to bring yourself and the object you work on, to bring that further.
Okay, so Johnny, please.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, because we haven't even looked at the watch, the iconic piece of contemporary watchmaking art that you've created recently, that has been your that you won the award for. And before I go to the CIC, it was inspired by another piece. Would you like to? Is that
Well,
true?
that's where I was going, because Bernard needs a challenge. He needed to get the inspiration from some of the most incredible watchmakers ever
But
existed,
let's
didn't
go
he?
a little bit more to the back. I'm rather sure you don't have an image at disposal here. I talk about a table clock that I made. I was requested just to make one indication more than only a time indication. So as I wanted to make something special, I started and I said, okay, I want to make a moon phase. A moon phase normally is wrong 45 minutes every full moon to full moon. I thought I have to make that quite better. So I made that by combining it with the moon position. So the moon is going around in the dial, and when it's at 12 o'clock, it shows that the moon is visible on the sky. If it's at 6 o'clock, it's on the other side of the earth. And while going around, it is rotating. And with this overlapping of two movements, I was able to make a moon that is good for more than 800 years. Then should make a little correct. It will not be
So
me anymore.
that was the start, and then you started to think
That
about Daniel's and Breguet work, didn't you?
and this clock, Georges Daniels saw this, and he was fascinated by my way of solving the problem, because, as you know, he made the Space Traveler 1 and 2. Space Traveler 1, where he wanted to have the moon indication the most precise possible. This is Space Traveler 2, where he
Okay.
made
Yeah.
the very
Yes.
same. And as far as I learned, he was not sure if he made the best calculation possible, and asked the Royal Society for help, and asked them if they may not know a mathematician who has a little knowledge about astronomics as well. And they brought him in contact with a professor of mathematics, uh, funny enough, with the name Georges Daniels.
Oh
So the
wow.
Georges Daniels mathematician proved, and may be corrected as I'm not informed, the calculation of Daniels, and Daniels made the construction of the movement, ending up in Space Traveler 1 and Space Traveler 2. And when
How
he
did
saw that I made all myself, I made all the calculation on the moon when he needed help, that was where started a very nice exchange of some telephones and dedication and things like that.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's how you met George Daniels. He contacted you in the
Yeah.
midst of the calculation of his obviously perfect moon phase that went into the
And
space
there, I
travel.
don't know if
Amazing.
you can see that here, we have
Let's
the
see.
little nice dedication that he wrote me
Congratulations.
when we met in Basel during the Basel Fair.
That's
That's
history. Eh?
beautiful. Wow.
That's history. Amazing. Amazing. So, but
Yeah.
you, Bernard, the work of George Daniels then obviously made an impact on you,
Yeah.
conversely. And also you started to kind of dig into some of the most incredible watchmakers, the legend watchmakers, such as Breguet, for example,
Mhm.
to work out the concept of your latest creation, which is
Yes.
the Central Impulse Chronometer that we see
Yes.
behind you.
Yes. The CIC, what we call the constant chronometer. And the constant chronometer, the CIC, he really contains three big watchmakers. It contains first the Breguet and his idea for a mirrored double detent escapement, what he called the échappement naturel.
The
Then it
natural escapement.
contains the natural escapement, yeah. Then it contains the remontoir d'égalité, what was brought to watches by John Harrison in the H4, where he was winning the longitudinal prize for. This is a little device to rewind in a very short time a small spring, what you can see here on the left and on the right of the balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it contains the most important, the idea of Georges Daniels to liberate the two escape wheels that Breguet had to interlock by two additional wheels to ensure that they may not disturb one the other. And this is what I made here. You can see here on the picture, very nice, one of the escape wheels. The idea of Daniels was to make two independent gear trains, means we have here two movements that are completely independent from each other, but serving one common balance and being controlled by what I call the metronome, a device that was developed by Daniels in its basic form, what you can find in the middle between the two escape wheels. And it is in this metronome the whole secret, because this metronome is regulating which escape wheel will be blocked and which escape wheel may transmit the energy to the balance. And they are
Okay.
working in alternation. So one escape wheel gives the impulse to the balance when it's turning to the left, the other one when it's turning to the right. So you know that the detent escapements, they are unidirectional. Those watches normally make only tack, tack, and tack.
Yes.
And here we have tack from one side and the tick from the other movement. So here we have a watch what makes tick and tack and tick and tack, and therefore is very stable. You can make downhill racing with this detent escapement. You can play tennis with it. You can go golfing, and it is protected to whatever you can imagine on daily use. Mm.
So we go back to the fascination, to the sound as well, as much as for the mechanics, Bernard. And I want to inform and give a little notice to those that are maybe starting to watch this video only now. We are live with Bernhard Lederer, master watchmaker, German master watchmaker based in Switzerland these days, and we're talking about his latest creation, the Central Impulse Chronometer, and how this has been inspired by the work of some most prominent historical watchmakers. Bernard, one question that comes to mind: did you have all of this conceived and set out before making it, producing it, creating it, or was it very much a process, a learning curve that brought you to a result that is slightly maybe different to what you were envisioning at the beginning?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that question. Yes, of course. You know, I studied all the books that you can have from George Daniels. I was reading as much as I could. And he always had been writing that the independent double wheel escapement, he sees it as being the best escapement he may imagine. So I asked myself the question, so why then he made the coaxial escapement? And the answer is he himself who gives the answer. He says that the independent double wheel escapement is too delicate and too tight in tolerances to ever fit a wristwatch. So I thought this statement he made in the 1980s. Today we are 45 years later. We have much more performing machines, much more precise, and so on. So I thought it will be easy just to shrinkle his construction and to make his independent double wheel escapement working in a wristwatch. But as you said, it was a process, and it was a very, very fascinating process. You may understand it like when you're in a tunnel and there are curtains. You don't see the end of the tunnel. You only see the curtain in front of you and the space in front of the curtain. So you have to pass through all the obstacles that are in this room, what will allow you to open the next curtain. And then you look and say, oops. Huh? Again, a room full with questions, full with adventures, full of things that want to be solved. And like this, you pass through a tunnel of, from time to time, just a few curtains, from time to time, maybe a few more. And here
Yeah,
it had
which
been a few more than expected. And I put it myself, without knowing that I did, I put it myself a few curtains additional that I had to go through and open. Yeah? And it means when we made the first prototype, we lifted it up to 3 hertz. They had been running very nicely just until the moment when we tried how resistant against shocks they are. And there we had to find out that there is a difficulty. There we found out that from time to time an escape wheel can slip through, can go in front of the impulse taking pallet, and therefore bring a certain non-accuracy to the timekeeping. And this is what I wanted to heal, and we could find there the solution. And there are many little details like this. And I just only want to talk a little bit, if I may so, on the very last one. And that concerns just those 2 second hands that are nicely visible on the dial side. You must know that when a watchmaker is assembling a watch, he is used to put all hands direction 12 o'clock. So the hour hand goes to 12, the minute hand goes to 12, the second hand is placed to 60 seconds, and as we have here 2 seconds hands, the second hand as well. And then you start the watch, all is running fine. And as we have the watches always running, because we test them every day, every watchmaker here in the company is wearing his own watch to control, to test, to find out if there may appear a little problem or not. For us, always it was running fine. So after months and months of testing and proving, we decided we will now start to deliver. A few couples of weeks after we delivered the first watch, we got an email back from one of the owners of the watch, where he asked what if we could help him, because obviously he made something wrong. And we found out he was a little bit not upset, he was a little bit triste, unhappy, because his second hands had been disaligned. And I laid back and said, but that's the most normal. We have 2 independent movements. Each movement is carrying its own second hand. So when the watch is running out of energy, one of the 2 movements will run out of power as the first one, and then its second hand will stop and the other will continue working. So there's nothing wrong with that. But yes, there is
very
something wrong with it, because we delivered a watch with aligned second hands. And this apparently, we do it also, apparently everybody loves. And to have a watch what you fall in love, also because the second hands are always aligned and crossing each other. Every minute you have this fascinating game and you observe it, and suddenly this is not anymore. This is what you don't want to have. And so instead of writing now to every owner, to write it, explain it on our webpage, that of course, and never assembling the second hands aligned would have been one option. But I felt that would be not the real, not the Bernhard solution.
yeah,
Huh?
because
And
in
therefore,
this yeah, no, sorry, carry on.
and therefore we took the whole construction and we started to reflect what we can do to ensure, even if a customer is letting running down his watch till the end of the power reserve, what we can do to ensure that the second hands will stay always aligned. Having in mind, we have two independent movements. So it sounds as impossible, but we made it possible. We developed a little device what is taking care that at the end of the power reserve, the moment when one movement starts to become weak, the whole system is put it on hold. So if the whole system means the two movements and the balance are stopped, and this only short before the real end of power reserve, then the system is stopped. And this has a very nice side effect because we use the function of the remontoir. And the remontoir ensures something what is extraordinary in this watch. It ensures a constant regularity through the whole power reserve. What means you wind up the watch, and from that moment on until it's running down, you have precise timekeeping. And you may know that normally you wind up a watch, it will start full wound, it will start running too fast, slowing down through the day. And if you want even to have a cost certification, you have to regulate it that it's after 24 hours back again on the good time. But nobody tells where it is in between. Our watch is so stable, and therefore we call it the constant chronometer, because it constantly is keeping perfect the time. And using now the system of the remontoir to trigger the mechanism who will block the balance ensures that the watch never is running without the function of the remontoir. So we have two results with one idea, and the second
Is
hands
that
always aligned. And this
Johnny?
is what I
That,
love.
oh, sorry. Is that simple? Is that simple, Johnny?
It's lovely to hear it explained as that, as it's something that it's almost an accidental byproduct of this customer's email, who didn't obviously knowledgeable enough to understand what he was buying, but just that little intricacy, that little idiosyncrasy of the central impulse chronometer having the two movements, that there it's only natural that there would be a difference between the two, and how in regulating that, and that beautiful idea of that break that stops the movement as
No,
soon as the energy
absolutely.
stops. Yeah, it's fabulous. Yeah.
And for the naive observers like us, we never claim to be obviously mechanical experts. This is a masterclass that shows us how beyond the simple party trick horology goes. And the party trick, of course, here would be the two small seconds that actually turn in opposite directions, which
Yeah.
you understand immediately that there is something special about this timepiece. But it all comes from the separation of the two movements at the back, giving separate impulses that are then obviously regulated and made harmonious to grant accuracy, stability, like Bernhard Lederer just explained. So yeah, this is an amazing insight, Bernard. Thank you very much. Can
With
we ask?
pleasure.
We know that these watches are made pretty much by over 200 parts, besides all the know-how and the knowledge that goes to put the parts together. But it's a long way, a long work of love, including also, considering the finishing techniques that you obviously put in place as well, such as beveling, graining, frosting, engraving, you name it. How long does it take for you to make one of these timepieces, and how long should people think they need to wait if they are interested in discussing with us about one of these pieces?
Yeah. What I can tell you quite accurate is the time that it takes to decorate the wheels of one complete watch. And please don't forget we have two movements. So the two movements to decorate them completely from two barrels, two fourth wheels, two third, then the remontoir, the second, and so on. That is something around 300 hours only decorating the wheels.
Yes.
It is amazing, but as you can see the wheels from both sides, and even if you could not, I would decorate them from all sides, because for me the decoration, yes, it has something to do with beauty, but for me it has another meaning what I feel even more important. For me it is a sign of respect towards the profession I am in. And this understanding I got when I learned my watchmaking, learning this in a watch museum where I had access to historic timepieces. And when you can see with how much love, unnecessarily, of course, yes, but with how much love all the components had been decorated, this became for me the synonym of respect. And therefore, we do not decorate, but we very, very highly respect each and every component. What concerns now the time you have to wait, it is less than a year. That is very opposite to how many of the watch collectors are used to. And I'm very proud that we went this way, because we verticalized the whole production and had been able to realize everything in-house, beside of the rubies, the hairspring, and the mainspring. Each and other component, what you see here, of course, no, I have to correct, the sapphire crystal covering the movement. This is
Of
also made
course.
by a specialist of sapphire crystals.
Of
But
course.
Beautiful. Yeah.
concerning the movement, even the hands, everything is made in-house. Every screw, every pin, every wheel, and just look the hands. They are. We machine them here. We mill them out of a massive block of steel. Then they are sanded. Then they are polished. Um, if needed, they are blued.
Yeah.
uh, there we developed a very special device. Look, the regularity of the blue of the second
Mhm,
hands.
mhm.
No?
I think this
Uh,
image speaks for itself, and thank you, Johnny,
yeah.
for selecting this one.
Beautiful. It's
Mm,
absolutely
mm.
fabulous. So it's the
And
attention
this
to
is
detail.
where I go and where I'm a little bit, we call it maniac. I'm a little bit crazy. But again, for me, that is a question. If you are in love with what you do, then you pay attention, and then you cannot accept if there would be a little bit a reddish color in the second hands. Even if one customer asks us to make for him red second hands, but that's another point.
That's another
Here we
story.
decided they have to be the natural blue. There's no chemic treatment, that is pure only with the warmth of the surrounding. They come to this fantastic blue color, and I can tell you and promise you there's nothing retouched on those images.
Well, you, besides what Bernard just explained, you are in luck because of the limited edition with our partnership with Bernhard Lederer. We managed to kind of secure a couple of pieces for ourselves. So we are hoping at the beginning of 2024 to see the first, new versions of the CIC. These uh, uh, gold version that you see now, 25 pieces limited edition with this beautiful anthracite dial, and also the Pacific Green, which is the other edition, 25 pieces as well. Um, One last thing, Bernard, you really managed also to keep a certain elegance to this timepiece. That there's so much going on in terms of the movement, in terms of the two spinning in opposite directions, small seconds. You managed to contain it to a mere 44 millimeters, this case, as a case diameter, and also only 12 millimeters thick. Very important, not to enjoy the watch in its full potential.
Yeah, that it would be much more easy to make it more thick, but for me, I make things as you saw also with the second hands to align them only because we realized people love that. We did not need to make a watch to find out that people love slim watches. That is very natural, and that comes also from myself. I want to have an elegant dress watch, and here we have elegant dress watch where you can also go to make sports with, and that is where I feel there is where we come really to some kind of perfection. We all know you have special sport watches. You cannot transform them into a dress watch, and vice versa. No? The Central Impulse does not look very sporty, but uh, it is also nothing what takes you away from wearing it whenever you go for jogging or when you make a bicycle tour or and then when you stop with your bicycle in front of the opera, just go in. Don't be afraid that you wear this watch. It fits perfect.
Absolutely,
It's,
absolutely.
yeah.
And
It's
obviously,
beautiful, and you talk about just the shape of it, how slim it is. It's the shape of that slimness as well. The shape of the two sapphire crystals front and back, where there's actually no rear bezel at all. It's just it's the sapphire spans the entire width of the case and
Yes.
has that lovely, it's domed, so it's ergonomic. It is also, again, the
It is
attention to detail.
both.
It
It
just
is ergonomic and is aesthetic, and the base was
totally,
that we said what we want to show. We want to show a nice case, or do we want to show a nice and fascinating movement? And the answer is very clear. We are watchmakers. We
sure.
are not designers. Yes, it became beautiful, but it became beautiful because we followed what is necessary. We opened it wherever we could without making a skeletonized watch. We kept it in a way that you easily can read the time, and therefore we showcased, and yeah, we really can use the word, we showcased the movement to show what are we mastering, and what we are mastering is the technique and the craftsmanship of high-end watchmaking. Um, yeah, and if people start to appreciate it and if people love it, that's more what I can expect. And just to complete, I had been in the United States last week, and there I had the chance to meet the owner of the watch, who wrote that he was so unhappy when his second hands lost the alliance. And you may imagine how happy he was that he is the one who initialized the next level. Today, all watches are lifted up on next level. Those few that have been delivered at the same time, we call them back. Of course, we equip them with all this little device, what is stopping the balance at the best moment you can imagine. And therefore, all watches that are out, they already have that system in.
fantastic.
Even if it stays, please be aware it stays a mechanic, as everything can happen at every moment. We tried now since 1 year, we tried to get the second hands disaligned. We are 8 people here wearing a prototype watch. None of us was able to get it. So I think that's quite okay, the way we test it. No? I hope we never ever will find it, and we hope that never ever a customer may have a situation where he is facing the
For sure.
situation of disaligning. But if yes, it's easy. Send us the watch. The next day, it's back with you.
You will find a way for sure. This amazing conversation.
This was a masterclass, and Bernard, thank you very much. I had another, look, plenty of other questions here, but
Let's
there
make
is.
it.
We'll do it. We'll do it again. One of the questions was: I know that the CIC is obviously part of the Master Escapement series, and you have a fascination with the development of the escapement, the efficiency of the escapement, and the realizations of escapement. So, I was going to ask you if there are plans for a different model in the future. What is the next step in the series? If you can give this little preview to our audience, it would be amazing.
Yeah, there are a few things coming what I don't want to talk about, but what I can talk about is yes, we are actually testing two other escapements, very interesting historic escapements as well, and we have now also the first proto running of an escapement that had been developed entirely, where we have applied for a patent protection, what we received already, and that will be the fourth. We don't know in which follow-up they will come to the market, but number one is in the market, number 2 and 3 already running, and number 4 we start to test.
Wow.
And there are still a few in the drawer that will come one after the other, but we, even if we are watchmakers, we only have 24 hours a day.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. But
when will we see the first of these, Bernard?
As soon as they are not only ready, but deeply tested to ensure that they will survive daily wear and use and jerky movements and whatever can happen to watches. So I don't want to show anything what is not strong, tested, proved, certified, and then it will come.
Up to the Bernhard Lederer standard. Yes.
We
absolutely.
don't want to create our own standards. I'm fine with the standards that are in the industry. They are good enough. Yeah. But of course, uh, you don't find in those standards that second hands have to be aligned. That is
Yeah.
true.
This is Bernhard Lederer. This is
Yes, yes.
the obsession with perfection.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I can't believe how quickly this has gone. Bernard, this is I think a promise to see you very soon if you will be able to allocate us some more time. There is so much more that we can discuss about and learn on our side as well.
If you give me one promise that you will cut me much more quick, that we can go through all the questions and keep me away from explaining everything too much in detail.
No,
No, okay.
the detail we need it's the detail it's the insight. It's what makes this special, Pietro, because we're not just
Absolutely.
reviewing a watch or talking about how nice it looks and it's good on the wrist, and we're getting under the dial and in underneath the case back to understand
That's
what
my suggestion.
yeah,
Let's make a little series where we dedicate to one special theme, talking about detent escapement, talking about remontoir d'égalité, talking about how to make hands blue.
sure.
Just
Oh
choose
wow.
a few topics. Will be my pleasure, because then I know where to stay and not to run away in all the directions.
This is
I'm
perfect, and the ideas are perfect as well, Bernard. We're gonna definitely look into that. And for now, I have to thank you for your time. This has been a proper masterclass. I hope our audience, and I'm sure our audience will really enjoy this. You find Bernhard Lederer watches on the limited edition. We are official retailers. We have this great privilege, and we're very grateful for that. As I said, some watches may be available at the beginning of 2024. Just contact us, and we will give you all the details. And Bernhard, again, thank you so much. I hope to see you very soon. Johnny, thank you for being my co-host today. Always grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks. See you next time, all.